Self, yes.
Yeah.
I actually like Painkiller. So anyway,
I like the song. I just wish he sang it in his regular way instead of a witch with a bad crotch rash.
I don't think he could have. I don't think it would have worked singing in a regular way. But we'll talk about it when we jump in.
We will discuss that when we get to it. But first, the introduction.
The introduction. Well, first we have a little. All right, let's do the introduction first, and then we'll have a little talk back and forth. Meeting. Got it. Intro. And here it is. Here we go.
It's time for Red Salad Review with your hosts, Wayne Moon, Greg Narlow, and Lou Mack.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Rat Salad Review. How are you guys doing?
Watching Peppa Pig.
Was that like some like freaking you were watching a bunch of Monty Python prior to this and you decided to come in with a little bit of higher pitched accent?
No, I had no. I don't know what that was.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rat Salad Review.
Welcome to the show, everybody.
He's doing his best Nico McBrain impression and back on track.
Welcome to the show. Hello, James. Nice necklace you have there. Nice t-shirt.
Aloha. I am no longer confined to the mountains of East Tennessee. I came back. I saw my true calling was to be a fat guy in a Hawaiian shirt in Hawaii, which is like, 80% of the people there. No, just kidding. I'll be honest. Parts of Hawaii are great. Parts of Hawaii are not great. But you know what? It's really fun to go on all the trails and everything. So it was a really nice little workcation, I like to call it.
Very cool. Well, it's better than being a fat guy in a little coat.
It is better than fat guy in a little coat.
And welcome back, Greg. It's been, what, a year?
Yeah, it's been like this whole thing was your idea too.
Yeah, I know.
You missed every single episode.
I know. It was your idea.
No, I had problems with work and shit like that. That's why I said we'll have to go back one day, not tonight, because we have so much other stuff to get through. But yeah, Screaming for Vengeance, Defenders, Power Slave, Turbo, Somewhere in Time, Ram It Down.
Basically the whole discography.
That's the whole discography, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you missed the entire premise of this show, sir.
Well, I did write down my ratings for those records at least. Although I will say we did do a whole episode on Somewhere in Time.
Yes, we did.
On our little sideshow Screams from the Grave. But yeah, I could run through that real quick.
Go ahead, run through your ratings.
No, although all I could say is that I did listen to Turbo. That is the horniest damn album I have ever heard. Rob Halford, it was horny as shit with those lyrics.
Yeah.
He was a turbo lover. Anyway, go ahead.
Exactly.
Greg, what's your ratings?
Screaming for Vengeance, I gave an 8. Defenders of the Faith, 9. Power Slave, I gave a 9. Although, kind of some nostalgia involved there. I feel like it should be an 8.5, but I love that record. Except for the Duelists. Fuck that song.
Mm-hmm. All right, very cool. Very cool.
And Greg.
Turbo, a 4.
4.
I have to say it's an enjoyable listen for the most part. To listen to most of the record, but Private Property, Parental Guidance, which is, barring the exception of Demolition, the worst song they ever recorded. So I gave that fucker a 4 and Somewhere in Time a 10 because that's just a perfect record. That's what Bruce.
All right.
Ram It Down's kind of half-assed, although they did start to introduce some of the, I'm going to say thrashier because that's kind of how I feel about Painkiller on like songs like Ram It Down itself and Come and Get It. Couple other songs like that on there, and you can kind of hear on some of the stuff on Painkiller where they kind of took it and refined it, but we'll get to that when we get to Painkiller. but I gave that a 5.5 because it's just it almost feels like a compilation of unreleased tracks because it's a mix of the leftovers from Turbo, and then what they were writing for the actual album was just so different and ahead of the rest of it. It makes it play really weird. Half of it is really good, and then half of it,
it just falls off.
yeah. Seventh Son, 8.5. Good record, but there's a couple little goofy things on there. But it's a great album.
Yeah, of course. Manny, did you buy anything lately? We usually go over stuff that we've gotten.
I did, but it's over there. But
Jesus Christ.
So I'm not gonna go get it. But yeah, I got a few things. What did Aerosmith Classics Live? I bought that on vinyl, and I'm glad because I bought it when I was 17, and then when during the CD craze, they got rid of it. So now I've been buying stuff I used to own. But what I really like about it, I like the album anyway, but I love the cover. It's just blue with the logo on it. I think it's really sharp looking. Musically, it's good. And I bought an album from the Rush Limbaugh, the metal hard rock world, Ted Nugent, State of Shock on vinyl.
Wow.
I may not agree with his politics, but I like his music. So, you know.
That's what I like about you. You might not like his politics, but you like the music. So,
well, it's one doesn't have to do with the other anyway.
I know. Well, some people, you know, are not like that, and they just, you know, fuck them. You know, if they like a musician and they don't believe what they believe in, fuck them. You know, I hate that.
No, we deal with enough of that. We don't need.
Yeah,
that.
we deal enough of that in the real world. I don't. It's music, and you know, I have friends that I don't agree with politically. So what? You know.
That's right.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't agree with your guys' musical taste, but I still hang out with you guys.
We're trying to refine you, James, but so far
does any of this look like refinement? Does any of this look like refinement, sir?
Yes, sir. You have improved.
You
actually button up your shirt right in the right way. So we're getting there. We're getting there.
I'm waiting for him to go like this with his fingers and go, I guarantee, because ever since I saw him, I keep thinking of Paul Prudhomme.
I like to think more like Ricardo Montalban. However, I am not that good looking.
Well, it's
Ricardo Montalban is rich Corinthian leather. You're like rich Corinthian Naugahyde.
Nice.
I like that.
What is that necklace, by the way? Is that shells or
pasta
pasta shells?
Okay. I got this from an authentic luau.
Oh,
cool.
No, Greg, did you grab anything?
Did you have anything, Greg? Yeah, I did, but I didn't bring it out here. But I got, speaking of Nugent, Rusty Day sang with the Amboy Dukes. I got that record and the first 2 Cactus albums and a couple Cramps ones I was missing.
Oh, that's cool.
Songs the Lord taught us. But yeah, I didn't think to bring that all out here with me. I was trying to remember to write down the rest of them.
Yeah.
What about you, James? You bring back any artifacts?
Well, I brought back a ton of artifacts. I did. I had to buy a lot of gifts because, well, I couldn't bring my wife, which meant I had to bribe her on the way back. So I actually found out Hawaii has amazing rum and they do coffee with it. And that is a dangerous combination because not only do you need to be hyper, but you're also drunk, which is just awful combination. However, the cool thing about Hawaii, about Oahu and Honolulu, is they do a swap meet every weekend and on Wednesdays. And so like you can find some pretty crazy shit there. No, not really musically inclined, but you can find a lot of just knickknacks and crap to send home to your family to make them annoyed. My nephews are still wearing the little tree nuts and shell lays that I bought them freaking 2 weeks ago. They're still walking around with those bad boys on there. So, you know, got them Hawaiian shirts, did all that fun stuff. So yeah, I've got them completely annoying looking, which is what I'm supposed to do as a good uncle.
Very good. Very good. And you enjoyed your trip, I would imagine.
You know, I will say this. There is some really interesting thing. They have the place where they shot Jurassic Park at. That's pretty awesome. That place is huge. The north side of the island is great. Now I couldn't island hop, so I couldn't see any cool stuff like volcanoes and stuff, but we were able to make our way around.
Cool. I've never been there. Maybe one day.
I would love to see that. I would love to see that. Yes, I want to see that just because I feel like you'd be such a fish out of water. Once you actually got out of Honolulu, I think it'd be the funniest thing ever.
We'll see. Maybe one day. I don't know. I don't know if I have the money.
And now I get to go to Florida next month and enjoy the cultural stylings of Disney's Polynesian Resort.
Hey! I live in Florida. Anyway, go ahead.
Manny is the Florida man.
Yes.
Let's not get carried away, gentlemen. So,
actually, now there's a Florida woman now, isn't there? Something just happened with some woman.
Oh, there's always something happening.
There's always something.
No, I know, but there was something like really fucked up.
The funniest one I remember was a woman got arrested because she shot her ex-boyfriend and was sitting on the air conditioning.
That happens all the time over here. Come on.
That was a good one. My personal favorite has always been Florida man causes traffic jam on 95 because he was out there waving his wiener at fucking cars.
That happens every day.
Yeah. Doing the helicopter.
Manny did that before he came on the show.
Yeah.
That's the reason why there's a traffic jam over at I-4.
I was almost late.
Yeah. All right. I got some CDs in the mail. Actually, there's one right here. Splintered Throne, the new Splintered Throne just came out. Our good friend Lisa Mann, she autographed it, all the band on there.
Hey.
So she'll be on the show sometime soon. They're going to work out a date to come on the show. So that's going to be fun. The band Haunt, that new album came out as well. What the hell is it called? Windows of Your Heart. He seems to put an album out every month. That guy is nonstop busy. And this band will be on the show on Friday, Ashes Rain. I bought the CD from them. It's their EP. Really, a bunch of really cool guys. If you really like the thrash, like some newer type thrash, definitely check this out. I really love this album a lot. And I think the next album that they're going to put out, it's going to be a little bit different than this, but a really great band. Really a bunch of cool guys as well. They sent me a bunch of shit. Actually, I think I posted it on the Facebook the other day, but sent me this poster, sent me a t-shirt, sent me pins and stickers and all this other shit.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so really cool. And then also the other cool thing that I got in the mail today, the new Guar figures. This thing is about the size of my head. I didn't think it was going to be this big.
We're just talking about the cuttlefish there.
Yeah, that's about the size of my tongue. See?
Okay, don't do that again, please. So,
this is a family show, sir.
I know, man.
My kid's watching.
I blame it on Turbo. Wayne probably liked it.
Yeah, well, look at his butt. They did a good job on his butt. I mean, the likeness on his butt is uncanny. But I think they really did a good job. Actually, there was like 3 different ones, and I had to buy them all. But there's like a bunch of different ones: a see-through color, and a see-through blue, and this orange one. Well, that was cool. And the other cool thing I found in the yard sale: Donkey Kong, $5.
Hell yeah!
That is cool.
That's my finds. I think that's it. But yeah, and hopefully everybody watched last week's episode with Jesse Fink. We're getting a lot of feedback on that show, and I just want to thank Jesse for coming on the show and talking about his book, Bond: The Last Highway. So everybody needs to go and get this book. I posted on TikTok the other day a segment of the show, and some people were shocked to hear what Jesse had to say about Bond's death. And I know some people are going to be buying that book now. So check out that episode and go get that book. It was a very good show. All right.
Good book.
Yes, it is very good.
I was busy fixing some plumbing, but good book. Cool interview.
Yep. All right.
Yeah,
so
it was a really good interview, guys, and thank you for finally getting that book. I was actually able to see it and read it, and I actually really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's some really good stuff and some shocking stuff about AC/DC that I really never would have heard of unless I read that book. So
well, I did. I mean, I kind of expected this, but him talking about the secrecy of that of the band, like how just notoriously secretive they are, that they just don't do interviews at all.
Right. Yeah.
At all. It's just amazing that they could be able to do that in this time of music and stuff.
Or the interviews that they do are very secretive. You know, they don't give you the whole stories and everything. So very mysterious band. Where'd Manny go? He left.
I think he had an issue, so he's trying to work through it.
All right, no problem. All right, so you want to start with Iron Maiden or Judas Priest first?
It's all up to you guys. You guys are the ones that are. You're the guy. I'm gonna let Greg decide this because he's the one that he led this down this road. But now we're having to hold the head.
You pick, Greg.
I know Lou's got a lot to say about No Prayer for the Dying, so we should probably start with Judas Priest.
All right, we'll save that for when he comes. He should be here any moment now. All right, so Judas Priest Painkiller, the 12th studio album released September 1990. It would be the first album with new drummer Scott Travis from the band Racer X. It would also be the last album to feature Rob Halford on vocals for a while. He would later venture out on his own to start a new band, the first being Two with John Five. It would be more of an industrial band. And then came Fight, in which he would have Scott Travis on drums. It was a mix between Judas Priest and Pantera. And then finally, he started a solo band called Halford, which brought him back more to his heavy metal roots. It was produced, Painkiller was produced by the band and Chris, I can never pronounce his last name, but Sangarides. Close enough. Yeah. Marking the first time since 1978's Killing Machine that Judas Priest had not worked with Tom Allen, and the first time since 1976's Sad Wings of Destiny that Judas Priest and Sangarides worked together. Don Airey was brought in to play keyboards on A Touch of Evil. In a 2020 interview, Airey revealed that he also doubled most of the synthesizers to achieve the album's distinctive bass sound. So anyway, for the album itself, for me, I always felt this album was like half killer and half filler, but I think I changed my mind after listening to it this time, because me and you reviewed this album with Troy from the band Them. Like maybe 3 years ago, Greg.
Yeah,
a long time ago.
Oh, I totally forgot about that until you mentioned it. But yeah, we did.
Yeah, he loves this album. But so I might change my mind a little bit on this, but I didn't think it was that great as people praise it to be, but I still don't think it's their best album. But I do like most of it. I think the opening track, Painkiller, is like the best song on the album. To this day, I still remember seeing that video and saying, holy shit, that's Judas Priest. They were really trying to fit in with that Pantera type sound and style, and I think Scott Travis really gave them that extra boost that they needed.
Really?
Yeah.
Pantera? I didn't think it was anywhere close to Pantera. Like thrash, dude. I hear more Testament and shit like that. And
I don't hear a lot of.
I don't hear a lot of Pantera.
Yeah,
maybe
maybe
more in the
early
drums.
Pantera. But
yeah, that's what I mean. Like the early stuff, like Cowboys from Hell type Pantera, not like a vocal display. You don't think so?
I wouldn't even go with that. I mean, it's
funny you bring up Cowboys from Hell, because you can hear on what is a song, Greg? What's the song on there where Phil definitely is channeling his inner Rob Halford? I can't remember the song right now. Is it Cemetery Gates?
Shattered.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, Cemetery Gates. I mean, I could hear a little bit at the end when he's trying to do that high falsetto, but
yeah.
No, Shattered, he really does it, and he does it good.
Yeah, it doesn't do a bad job, but he definitely was influenced by Rob Halford. Anyway,
of course. But I don't mean like a Pantera clone, but I just mean like they're moving.
No, I get where you're coming from.
You know, it doesn't sound like Van Halen.
No, to me, I disagree. I don't hear it at all. I hear way more Bay Area thrash and shit like that. And what
I hear a lot of that Bay Area thrash in it. I do see that. I see where you're talking about with Testament and all that.
I hear the influence of that, but I don't think it sounds like that. But I know where you're coming from. I do hear that, especially with the kick Scott Travis gives a band a real. There's no way they could have done this music with Dave Holland or Les Banks.
Oh no, sure. Definitely not. And Scott Travis has an LA sound. He doesn't have that Southern groove metal sound of the drums. That's why I'm really not getting what you're saying. I mean, I'm not really a fan of the popular era of Pantera, but I know enough of it to know I don't hear that at all.
Whatever. Disregard what I said.
No. Stick with it. Stick with it. Stay with it.
Stay with it.
But if you're going to make egregious statements, I'm going to need you to show your work.
Metal Meltdown seems like a leftover song from Ram It Down. It's one of my least favorites on the album. Nightcrawler is probably my second favorite track on here, and a shout out to our friends in Timeless Haunt who covered that song last year and did a great job with it. Between the Hammer and the Anvil, not a bad song, not a touch of not a bad song. A Touch of Evil, I guess it's considered the ballad of the album, is really good. It breaks the album up a bit since every song was pretty like in your face. And one shot of what?
I fucking hate Touch of Evil.
Really? Why?
It's so boring and plotting and monotonous, and it's way too long.
It sounds very like Ozzy Osbourne-ish, especially with those keyboards in there. It reminds me of like the early Ozzy albums. I know. I think it's a good song.
Nah. It's okay to see him do it live, but listening to it on the record.
No. And One Shot of
I
Glory.
really don't like all aside too, for the most part.
Yeah. And that's why I say, I mean, this, a lot of people give this, like a lot of the metal community people give this album so much praise. I don't see it as being as good as like the earlier career. I mean, it's a decent album, but it's not the best.
And even with, and when I say monotony, I don't mean like as bad as when we're going to get to the Iron Maiden albums, but it's very, very similar from song to song on this, especially on side two, with the exception of I do like Nightcrawler, although to be quite honest, and this isn't just to give a shameless plug, but I like Timeless Haunt's version way better than Judas Priest. Just Timeless Haunt did it with a little bit more energy and conviction. It kind of needed that. It's a little too, I mean, I love the Priest song, don't get me wrong, but
guys, I'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah, sure. They should have done it a little bit more aggressive, I guess is what I'm getting.
I mean, I understand what you're saying.
But where I was going with that was like Defenders of the Faith. It's all very similar tone and everything production wise, but there's still, and why I rated that album so high, it gets into like the progressive parts that they used to do on like Stained Glass and Sad Wings of Destiny, and kind of integrates that back in. And Screaming for Vengeance, which is more closer to the commercial type stuff they did, that still manages to be the same tone wise, but be a lot more varied. And with this, again, with the Bay Area thrash, with a lot of them second tier thrash bands, while some of them have songs I love, the whole albums get tough to listen to because it just kind of runs together after a while. There's not. And
I understand what you're saying.
And honestly, outside and Touch of Evil can be okay, like I said, live. It's not a horrible song. It's just, I think, a little too long and slows it down a little too much right there. But like Leather Rebel is a classic. That's a great song on here. And Hell Patrol is probably my favorite. That's another one that kind of sounds like something that got started on Ram It Down. But and all Guns Blazing is killer. That's another one where you can totally hear the thrash element too.
Yeah.
They really needed Scott Travis to get.
Oh yeah.
If
he was in the band a lot sooner.
Yeah. But then the other nice thing about this is, even though a lot of it runs together, and I'm not going to rate it like 10 out of 10 or 92% like a lot of people seem to think it is. They're playing it with enough energy and conviction, kind of like Point of Entry. Every song might not be super interesting, but the energy of it makes it great. And there's plenty of good riffs and drum parts, and the bass sounds awesome on here because of how we double tracked it all throughout the album. So even if there is some stuff that's a little boring or sucks a little bit, it never really lasts too long before you get to, oh, this is a cool part I can still jam to.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's what I agree. I like a lot about the album is that even though, Rob Halford's singing isn't always my favorite thing in the world, I feel like he oversins a bit. I do like the guitars and the drums in this album. It is awesome. So
yeah, and I wish if Scott Travis joined his band way earlier on, I think some of the earlier albums would have been a lot better.
I would have loved to have him joined right when they started to do Ram It Down,
right?
Because it might have given him a kick, especially since Holland was sick or injured or whatever it was at the time. Maybe they would have written a whole new album, because you could already tell they were, Turbo was an experiment with popularity. It made a shit ton of money, but you could tell they weren't real happy with it. So they were starting to move forward on Ram It Down. It would have been really interesting to hear what that would have sounded like had they been able to do that fully. Because even though it's half-assed, the good songs on that record are actually really good.
Yeah, the good ones are good. The bad ones are really bad. Oh, and
Well,
the
and
song
the one I will say on this that I just don't like at all, where it actually sounds like it even reuses a couple riffs from a couple of the previous songs before it, Metal Meltdown.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
It's just this listless, lazy track that sounds kind of like everything else, but never moves off the ground beyond the opening riff throughout the whole song. It just repeats a bunch of themes from the first songs. It's weird. And with Rob's vocals, I think he does overdo it a little bit on Painkiller. As much as I like it, sometimes it can be a little much. It sounds like an enraged witch. It's
yeah,
like I said, with a bad crotch rash. That's how I feel. Something that sensitive was on fire, and man, does he hit them aggravated high notes.
Yes, he does.
One Shot of Glory is a good ending to the album. It's almost very like power metal-ish too.
I wish that was the ending for my part. I had freaking
there's one
Living
more
Bad Dreams.
Right, yeah, it is. Yeah, that song is that's a bonus track though, so that doesn't
Living Bad Dreams sounds like a worse version of Touch of Evil, and
it's pretty fucking bad. I didn't really like it. So my thing was starting off with Painkiller. Love the intro drum solo. That thing fucking hits hard. I love it. I love the guitars in it. Rob Halford's voice sounding like an angry witch with crotch rot is probably an accurate description with that. I mean, I think murdering small animals is not a great sound to be going with when you're singing. Hell Patrol, love the sound. I didn't like the lyrics that much, but I love the sound of the song. I mean, it kind of covers it up. All Guns Blazing, once again, guitars, everything kicks ass. It's just Rob Halford's vocals. You're gonna see a concurrent theme with this.
One is probably the toughest on the album because, like you were saying on Painkiller, the awesome drums covered up some along with the guitars, but on All Guns Blazing, he is so overly loud over everything else on the chorus.
Yeah. And then I said Leather Rebel, I thought it was a good filler song. Metal Meltdown, don't sing higher than the guitars. just don't. You don't have to. Nightcrawler, I liked it. Between the Anvil and the Hammer, really good song. I actually think it sounded a lot like Iron Maiden, which was it sounds a lot like Iron Maiden. Touch of Evil, I thought it was epic sounding. I thought like they were trying to go for like that arena rock type stuff of trying to sound epic. Battle Hymn, not my favorite song. Didn't like it that much. One Shot of Glory, but it gets the better the longer it goes, the better it sounds. So it feels like it took a real long time for them to get going, but once it got going, it was okay. Then Living Bad Dreams, I did not like that song at all. That song kind of sucks. So yeah. Outside of that, I mean, like outside of it, and I'm actually kind of excited because I've never heard Judas Priest without Rob Halford. I'm actually kind of I know this is going to be probably bad foreshadowing. I'm kind of excited to see what they do without somebody trying to oversing everything, but maybe they do.
You're going to be very disappointed, James.
Oh, great. Awesome. Thanks.
Well,
thanks, guys.
I'm talking about the singing. Trust me, it's not going to be your cup of tea.
Thanks.
Reginald Wilkins is in the chat, and he says Painkiller is, in his opinion, the greatest heavy metal album of all time, and has always been his favorite Priest album. It feels like the culmination of everything Priest had been working on up to that point, but he can see where we're coming from. It's a generational thing.
I don't think he's wrong on that, actually. I don't know if it's the greatest Judas Priest album, not to me, but it is a great album, and I have to agree with his assessment. That is, it accumulates everything that they've done up to this point. The exception, the first album, there's not really a lot of blues influence on this. Actually, there's no blues influence.
No, it's absolutely zero.
Zero whatsoever on here.
Yeah. There's more blues in an Iron Maiden album
I agree with
on one of the Iron Maiden albums than there is off of this Judas Priest album, which was one that shocked me.
All right.
Well, after British Steel, Judas Priest kind of, that was their first pure heavy metal album, meaning there's no trace of blues anywhere on there, and since then, so that I can think of, unless you want to count Johnny Be Good. But anyway,
consider Stained Class to be their first pure heavy metal album.
Yeah, I guess maybe.
There's some influence in there, but I
Yeah,
understand what you're saying.
I would almost say that, but the cover "Better by You, Better Than Me," which is a great cover, by the way, on there. That definitely, of course, it was written by Spooky too, so there's going to be a bit of blues soul thing to it that, you know, Judas Priest don't really write in that vein. So anyway.
Oh, Manny, it's your turn. What do you think?
Okay,
about
well,
It was your turn,
Painkiller.
so you can just keep going.
I
Yeah.
love the album.
All right, good. Let's move on to Iron Maiden.
Okay. Well, you all right. Well, I don't. I'm having like a computer issue here.
I see that. You're good now, though.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway, I'm just going to be quick. I love Painkiller. I agree that sometimes Rod Halford overdoes it with the vocals, just the way he is, but I like the way he sings. I agree. Scott Travis definitely adds some power to that album, and I think that's why the compositions are so heavy. I do think that Judas Priest were trying to compete with the younger bands, not necessarily Pantera. They hadn't even made their impact yet, but I kind of see where Wayne's coming from with that. But more of the thrashier bands without becoming a thrash metal band. I also think they were looking at what was going to be alternative, but not Pearl Jam or any of that. I think they were looking at bands like Ministry, and these guys have a very huge, wide. At least Halford and Tipton have a wide range of music that they both enjoy outside of heavy metal, and they're both always looking for newer bands. But I do agree with that. One thing James said, though, I can't disagree with James, is the lyrics. I think some of the lyrics are a little dumbed down, but I also think Rob Halford was going for this comic book / story type telling type lyrics. Marvel Comics. I mean, the Painkiller is another character between the Hammer and the Anvil. And also, was it you, Wayne, or was it Greg that mentioned power metal?
Me.
Definitely is this album's an influence on the genre of power metal, not just lyrically, but musically. They're not classically influenced like a lot of those other power metal bands were, but they're definitely have a more European flavor on this album than their other albums. And I actually like Touch of Evil, Greg. I actually like that song a lot. It's probably the most commercial song on there, but I like that riff. It's very repetitive, but that's what I like about it. And I like his vocals on it. And the lyrics on it are very good. And sadly, those lyrics are still applicable today. But overall, an excellent album. And when we give it a rating, I'm going to give it a pretty high rating. Anyway. Why didn't say that before my internet takes a shit? Anyway, go ahead.
So far, everything's been good. So you're all right. Greg, did you finish everything you want to say about Painkiller, or?
Yes. Oh, other than I agree with what Reggie there said too. It is in a lot of ways a culmination of everything they had done up to then, and they incorporate everything from the past very nicely, as well as moving forward into the tone and their new sound.
Yeah.
It's a shame he didn't get to do a follow-up with Rob to this, although it probably would not have been anywhere near as good because his mind was on a definite track to somewhere else.
Oh yeah. To see what the bands he came up with, like,
I
especially
think what's sad is that well, Fight definitely was a Pantera influence band, period, by far. Yeah, that definitely. Yeah.
But
well,
two things.
Sorry, I was going to bring back. You're talking about the Bay Area bands. I mean, Metallica had come out with Master of Puppets and Injustice for All before this album came out, so I could definitely hear some of the influences with the thrash, especially with those two albums being the best Metallica albums ever made.
Oh God! Don't
Ride the Lightning.
Don't start.
Well, I like Ride the Lightning as well, but yeah,
we don't need to talk about but was it? Yeah, Hell Patrol's my favorite, and actually, Wayne, now that you mention it, I hear a lot of power metal influence in that song too, and I just love the guitar. That's another one that kind of sounds like, hey, we build on what we were doing on Ram It Down, but as far as the lyrics go, they may be a little silly, but I can forgive Halford for just about anything after. How would you know anyway? You're just Mr. Dull. Suck it, Turbo.
Hi, all.
Whoa.
Hey,
It's
Lou, you're on.
Oh,
Lou, it is going to be your
Aloha,
turn in
Lou.
1 second now. So
I-
we're
I
still on Painkiller.
I just heard Greg quote parental guidance and say "suck it," so that's the wrong context to use, sir. Anyway,
Double entendre.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Oh, yeah. And that's a little tidbit about that album, James, and you can totally pick up on it in the lyrics. But Rob actually said this in an interview later on in the years. But Turbo Lover is about picking up dudes in bathhouses.
of course it is.
No shit. It's the horniest freaking album ever. You can just hear it. Everything's about having sex. He's
I will say,
incredibly
though,
horny.
It's a shame it never got to be a single. And even though it would have meant it wouldn't have been on the album, they should have given it to Top Gun. Reckless is one of the best songs they've ever written.
I love it
Yeah.
there was a bunch of those songs that should have been on the Top Gun album and they didn't do it. And they should have brought it back for Top Gun too.
I think what's a shame about Painkiller is because Rob Halford would leave the band after this tour, that they never explored going further with that sound. By the time we get to the next album, they have a new singer, and it's 7 years later. I mean, in 7 years, everything changed so drastically. And
That Cobain guy had came in and ruined music, right?
well, I actually like
all his
Cobain.
fault.
I don't blame him, but I know what you're saying.
I blame
It wasn't
Richard
just
Marx.
that. I mean, heavy metal
I
itself
blame
had morphed
Master
into
Puppets,
new
but-
metal. You know, wait, am I ahead of 19? Did new metal exist by 1997? I'm trying to think.
Yes,
of
it did.
and all those guys.
By
Yes, it did.
97, Korn, Deftones, Limp Bizkit,
Okay.
that was the rage. Yeah, no pun
AKA,
intended.
AKA my middle school and high school times. Yes, thank you.
AKA why James dresses the way he does, and I dress the way I
Thank
do.
you.
Oh wait, excuse me. Sorry, Lou. All right, let's go.
That's
No,
better.
it's not red. It's not red.
All right, since you finally joined us, Lou, your take on Painkiller.
It's okay. So I'm gonna give everyone fair warning. I'm gonna be Mr. Unpopular Opinion amongst the collective here. I have a feeling, and you know what? That's okay. I own it. I only speak for myself. Painkiller is in my top 5 favorite Judas Priest albums. In fact, it's not only my top 5. It's top 4. So I love the album because I think for me, when I heard Painkiller for the first time, not the album, the song, I feel like it came and hit me right at the right time, where it's like, you know, a lot of what you saw in pop music was, you know, just kind of bland by that point. I mean, everything was like Dago colors and neon and like zoomed out mullets and things like that. Yeah, I'm talking you, Vanilla Ice. And, you know, I just feel like, although, yes, there were plenty of thrash bands out there that were faster and louder and heavier. And, you know, death metal was in its infantile stages. And, you know, at that point, the only black metal bands that people really knew about were Bathory, Celtic Frost, and Venom. You know, you didn't have like Mayhem just started to take off. So for me to hear Painkiller, the song itself, as a 9-10-year-old kid, I thought it was like the coolest thing ever because it was fast. And, you know, I felt like for as fast as a band like Megadeth or Metallica could go, I feel like for me, because I always loved Judas Priest as a kid, it kind of meant that much more to me that they were experimenting with something so atypical to what they've done. Because, you know, let's face it, you know, the prime Priests, I guess you could say everything up until Defenders, and then Turbo, which was their pop experimentation, and Ram It Down, we won't even discuss that anymore. But, you know, Painkiller was just, for me, it was Priest for the 90s. Finally, they have an album closer worth talking about. You know, One Shot at Glory. It's probably the best album closer, in my opinion, up until this point. And, you know, and Wayne and Greg, I know we've had this discussion before, and I completely respect how you guys feel about it. but I love Chris Sangarides' production. As dating back to Thin Lizzy's Thunder and Lightning album to up until a few years after Painkiller, Anthem's Domestic Booty record. So I like his production. Is it the greatest? No. It's not Martin Birch. However, with these two albums, that's, leaves much to be desired, but, we'll discuss that when we talk about Maiden. But I thought that Sangarides' production for this record was the right production for the right album. And, I'll be a defender, no pun intended, of Painkiller to the end. I know it's a very polarizing record, especially amongst Priest long-term diehards. And that's fine. But for me, it's the beginning of Priest as I know and love them today, So that's all I could say about it.
That's it.
I think I said enough.
All right, cool.
Well, you'll be shocked to hear this, Lou. We did not hate the album, so.
Really? Greg?
Yeah, most
this
of
true?
us like, why?
Is this true?
We didn't hate it.
Okay, because
it's not in my top 4, but
Well, I apologize. I was under the assumption because he wasn't a fan of Chris Sangarides' production, and it's again, it's very atypical of what Priest has really done.
It works for this. About the only thing I would disagree with you on is I don't feel that it was all totally new outside of Scott Travis's drumming, which gives it an additional kick of aggression.
That's why I love it.
I think you could hear them moving towards this already on some of the new songs that they had actually written for Ram It Down.
That's a good point.
This is the culmination of that with other influences of them from before. And it's a very good album in that respect. Yeah, but there's like 4 or 5 tracks that kind of strike me as filler. But when it's on, there's good parts to each song. Nothing's totally horrible, even though I can't stand Touch of Evil.
I can't either.
Really something I would snap off. It works in the context of the album. It's much better live.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that. Actually, Touch of Evil is my least favorite on the record, so I'll give you that. And I guess that's all I could say about it. Well, I'll also agree with you about the whole Ram It Down thing. I feel like Metal Meltdown, if you put that on Ram It Down, then Ram It Down would have had 2 good songs aside from Blood Red Skies.
Hell Patrol would have fit perfectly. Actually, Blood Red Skies, while I do like it, is not really what I would call my favorite from that title track. Come and Get It is great. I love heavy metal. That's a great song. I'm a Rocker is not bad, but anyway,
on to the Maiden.
All right. It's very interesting. Very interesting. All right. So we'll move on to Iron Maiden. I think you finally got here in time.
Are we not going to give it the number rating now?
Oh, we do that at the end. Do it at the end.
We wait, sir.
Iron Maiden, No Prayer for the Dying is the 8th studio album. It's the first album to feature Yannick Gers?
Yannick.
On guitar, who replaced Adrian Smith. Gers previously worked with singer Bruce Dickinson on his first solo album, Tattooed Millionaire. This marks the first lineup change since 1982. Smith left the band during the pre-production phase, unhappy with the musical direction it was taking. And he contributed to the song Hooks in You. We'll talk about that later. The album departed from the keyboard and synthesizer, saturated progressive rock direction the band's 2 previous studio album outings in favor of a more stripped down style, which ushered in a change of vocal style for Bruce Dickinson from the operatic sound of 1980s to a raspier way of singing. In addition, there's a huge difference between the way he sings on this album and previous stuff.
No. I mean, it was a mistake having him do this.
I don't know. In addition, Michael Kenny, who had played keyboards on tour for the band, played keyboards on the album. The idea to make a more street level release also inspired the band to record in a barn. on Steve Harris's property.
Because there's nothing more street level than freaking being in a barn. I swear to God.
No, and Bruce Dickinson states that this idea was a mistake, commenting that it was shit. It was a shit sounding record, and I wished we hadn't done it that way at the time. I was guilty as anyone else in going, oh, great, look, we're all covered in straw. The album also departed from literary and historical lyrical themes in favor of more political content, with songs focusing on religious exploitation and social concerns. And despite charting well in most countries, particularly in the UK, where it debuted at number 2, it would have been the band's last album to receive gold certification in the US. That's kind of funny. I thought maybe one of the newer ones would have.
You figure Brave New World might have.
You would have thought so.
Thought so.
Yeah, I would have thought so too.
But No Prayer to Dying includes the hit song Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter, which, in spite of a ban by the BBC, remains Iron Maiden's only UK number 1 single to date. Written by Bruce Dickinson and originally recorded for a solo band for the Nightmare on Elm Street 5, the Dream Child film soundtrack, Harris decided to re-record that song for Maiden. All right. So about the album, this album gets a lot of shit, and I get it. It just doesn't measure up to the previous releases. The production is very raw sounding, and it's kind of strange hearing songs about current topics rather than getting some history lesson. But I will say there are some actual good songs on here, and more than I used to think. I always like Tail Gunner, and I think it's a good opener with a catchy chorus. Holy Smoke as well is another decent catchy track. The title track, No Prayer for the Dying, might be my favorite song on the album. I like the guitar melodies, very catchy, and maybe the closest to older Maiden songs. Public Enema number 1, even though the title of the song is pretty stupid, I like the song. I think it's pretty heavy, and Bruce's vocals are really gritty. Again, another catchy chorus section. Fate's Warning is okay, but it seems like it was just thrown together lyrically. The Assassin musically, I really like the song, especially in the verses. I like what Nico is doing on the drums, but the chorus is terrible. They couldn't think of anything else better than Better Watch Out because I'm the assassin.
Wait, you're just now questioning their chorus lyrics? Come on.
Well, I know,
I have
but
it.
that's pretty bad. Running Silent, Running Deep, kind of like Fate's Warning, just falls flat. Hooks in You, worst song on the album, and I can't believe this was a song that had Adrian involved. Musically and lyrically, it's just terrible. Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter. I like the song. Is it too repetitive? Yes, but I think it's catchy, and I love the middle part too, where the music lowers and then builds back up. And Mother Russia, not their best ending for an album. It's very disjointed. Has a really great middle section though, with the guitars and solos, but I think the drum beats didn't really work well for the verses. It was poorly executed. Greg.
Easily Iron Maiden's worst album. The most boring, listless thing they have ever kicked out or thought up. This whole back to the roots idea was horrible. They sound just as tired as they were. You know, after 2 epic, so involved, complicated masterpieces like Somewhere in Time and Seventh Son, I can get what Steve was saying about them being complicated, but they really needed to take some time off to regroup, because what they do here is they run with this idea of, oh, we got to make it raw, or we got to go back to the first 2 albums. They have Bruce singing this raspier style that doesn't really work on the majority of the songs. There's a couple of them that actually legitimately kind of sound like older Maiden, and it's okay on, but Tail Gunner is their worst opening song next to Invaders. It's just terrible. It would be a little
that's actually my favorite song on the album.
It sounds so on autopilot, so devoid of any emotion. It's just
no.
Do you think
that's Fate's Warning and all the other crap songs they on this album?
Oh, I don't like Fate's Warning or any of that shit either. It's just they're trying to say, hey, pretend this is a great opening song, but the production and shit just doesn't match up to it. It could be good. I've heard them do it live and it sounded good, but a big part of the problem with that is the production sucks ass on this record. And to the point where it's so bad. I mean, I don't know if they might have fixed it on any of the remasters, but
no.
During when some of the songs, especially on stuff like Fate's Warning and what was the other one? Run Silent, Run Deep, when it reaches those swells and things start to rise, all you can hear really is the bass guitar. The rest of it is just a cacophony of noise mixed together. It just sounds awful.
I don't hear it that bad. I have there's worse albums behind me that sound worse than this one, but
yeah,
I understand. I do
granted,
understand.
there are, and there's a lot worse written albums out there, but this is Iron fucking Maiden,
and it should be top of the line, production, everything.
Well,
I totally understand.
Greg, let me ask
I
you.
I will put this in my defense. I did not hear the original version. All I heard was the remastered version. So a lot of that stuff was kind of fixed in a lot of those production sins were cleared up. It still makes it a shit album, but
well, it sounds like they did make it clearer though, because what I'm describing on the original press, it's literally that bad on a couple of the tunes, especially Tail Gunner, because it's kind of a faster song, and Holy Smokes Holy Smokes sounds pretty good actually. But
do you think Tail Gunner was like an Aces High Part 2?
yes,
I think they tried to do it, but it comes off as more of a weird mix between Aces High and the bouncier style of Can I Play with Madness, and I think it needed more. I think it needed more work.
I think it comes off as a heavy metal version of Kenny Loggins. Anyway, go ahead.
wow.
Oh!
I mean, I was gonna go
Highway
with
to the danger zone. Fuck you.
I was gonna say more. It was freaking Aces High Part Duh instead of Part 2.
Oh, it's the German version then.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, that's French. Oh, never mind.
Yes, it is French. It's Belgian, actually. Get it right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to confuse Gerard Depardieu with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Exactly.
Whatever.
I'm more of a Jean Reno fan, but get off me.
I like Leon, the professional. So.
Yes.
Oh, no, that movie rocks. Anyway, go ahead, James.
Sorry. Okay. So
it was Greg.
I don't think Greg was done
Oh,
yet.
Greg, you're not done? Sorry, Greg.
Are you done?
No, I was
I
gonna
know James
say
is itching. He's biting. He's chomping at the bit to speak. It's Greg's turn.
Well, there are actually some songs I do like from it. The Assassin is great. Chorus lyrics are a little stupid, but that happens a lot with Iron Maiden. Who the fuck cares? Bruce actually sings it instead of just trying to, we're going to make this sound like Paul Di'Anno.
Wow.
And the guitar lines to that are great. That's actually one of the ones on here where I feel Yannick really hits his stride, and I don't miss Adrian as much as I do on the rest of it, which brings me to Hooks and You, which I actually think is a brilliant song, and I can totally hear where Adrian wrote it. The issue is Yannick isn't the same type of player Adrian was, and he can't play the melodies the same way. So it's not everything it could be. But I guarantee you, if this was on a Smith solo album, or if he had played that, that'd be one of the best songs on here. It'd be almost like a Wasted Years with the way it's structured. It's just, they don't pull it off that way. One, because of the production. Two, because of how Steve wanted it to sound. And three, because of the lack of Adrian. Mother Russia, I really hear a lot of foreshadowing in this to the more progressive style. Like Wayne, a lot of what you're saying with the start-stop there. It doesn't sound so abrupt to me because I like a lot of prog stuff and Zappa like that. And I really like that track. Love the Maiden version of Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter. Please, everyone out there, if you've never heard the original Dickinson track, you don't need to. It sounds awful.
Yeah.
I'm glad Steve heard it and said this would be perfect for Maiden. Let's redo it this way, because he turned a dud into a brilliant song. It's a little repetitive, but it's really good. So, yeah, about 5 out of 10 I actually enjoy.
Not too bad. We got some people in the chat. What?
I do like the title track, No Prayer for the Dying. I'm still kind of on the fence about that one. And I think it's mostly the production of it that bothers me with some of the guitar lines. It just, it sounds restrained, and it shouldn't.
Yeah, that is a cool one. It's one of my, like I said, it's one of my favorites. Devil Dozer, going back to Painkiller, the song itself is probably in his top 3 to 5 Judas Priest songs. I can't pinpoint exactly where in the top 5, but the chorus is so damn catchy. And Reggie, No Prayer, in my opinion, this is going to shock everybody, does exactly what it is set out to do. To me, it sounds like the missing link between Killers and Number of the Beast. I honestly
Reggie.
He honestly likes this album a lot. It's dumb fun, and I always like fun. and he
Well,
thinks
he was half right there with said dumb fun.
Well, I guess it depends on his definition of fun, but hey, whatever floats your boat.
I need to send him a Cramps record. He's got to stop getting stuff off the sidewalk, man.
He said he thinks Tail Gunner actually took some parts from Clairvoyant off of Seventh Son.
Yes. I could see that.
Yes, that's the song I was trying to think of and I couldn't remember. Thank you, dude. Yes, it does. They quote it almost directly.
Hey, and that's a good song too. So I like Tail Gunner. I think it's good.
I love it.
All right, James is itching to go. Go, James.
All right, here we go. And
over to Manny. Let's go. No.
So I'm gonna admit that I did this, and like how I listen to these albums, I go song by song and put what I feel like, and I just say what I feel, and I don't do a top. So Tail Gunner, not bad. I have high hopes for this album. Boy, was I wrong.
Wait a minute. I said that for Halloween. All right. He's ripping me off now.
I'm still in your gimmick. Anyway, holy smokes, interesting lyrics. It was a good song. No Prayer for the Dying. Iron Maiden should never do ballads ever.
Foreshadowing.
It's definitely for the next album. Trust me. Public Enemy #1. It's all right. It's just something's missing there. It doesn't. There's a lot of phoning in. It feels
the
like
enema. No,
enema. Exactly. It feels more like an enema than an enemy.
It needs an enema.
It does. It really does. Fate's Warning. Something's not right about this song. And once again, it's just there is shit missing here. It's just even for Iron Maiden. And I've been publicly, very critical of Iron Maiden. They're not my favorite band. This is like the most phoned in album I've ever heard from them. And I know that's foreshadowing. Trust me, I know it's foreshadowing.
By the way, to interrupt you, Eric Adams wanted me to tell you are a malicious bastard. Okay, there.
Okay, and what else is new? The Assassin. There's the Iron Maiden contrived sound again. There's some more contrivance.
Knew he was going to say that.
Run Silent, Run Deep. It's a U-Boat song. I can't hate historical songs since I'm a Sabadon fan. Hooks in You. I really like that song. That is their best song on this album. It's actually really good. I love that song. You are so wrong, Wayne, but you should be used to this by now.
Yeah.
Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter. I hated it. I thought the lyrics sucked. I just thought it was fucking boring and just repetitive. Mother Russia. They should have stopped with hooks. This is way too long of a song. And this is coming from a Tool fan. This song just plods. And then there's some little interesting stuff in the middle, and then goes back to plodding.
Exactly. Yep. The only good Mother Russia song is from Sisters of Mercy.
I'm glad to hear you say that.
That is a great song. Wayne, I'm impressed.
I never assumed you would be a Sisters fan.
Yeah, I can't. The only sister I thought you were going to mention
he has to redeem
Twisted,
himself.
not Sisters of Mercy. I'm shocked.
Yeah, no, he had to redeem himself after he made that terrible take of saying Hooks is a bad song.
It's a bad song.
It is a terrible.
But he likes Dominion Mother Russia by Sisters, so he gets a pass.
I get a pass.
Yeah, he gets a pass.
He gets a pass. But yeah, so that's what I said. This is obviously like it's not as bad as their first album, but in my opinion, I hate their first album. I truly do. I hate Killers. You really know I do. But it's not their best either. This is really bad.
Which Maiden album up until now would you say that you like the most or dislike the least?
Dislike the least, Number of the Beast.
Interesting. Okay.
That's a good choice. It's a good choice.
All right, Manny.
Okay, I think this album's fucking horrible. Let's just get it out of the way. I love Iron Maiden, but this album, Tail Gunner. Okay, lyrically, I'm glad you like Flying Planes, Bruce. It's very nice.
Yeah, but it leaves you wondering why they wrote this song, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think somebody mentioned Aces High. Lyrically, they're going over kind of the same terrain, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but make it interesting. Holy Smoke, again, it's real easy to go, organized religion, especially during that time. Lyrically, I agree with what he's saying. I just think it's a lazy lyric. It's an easy target. They're kind of too smart for that. All right, No Prayer for the Dying. I actually like that song. It's actually a very well written song. It's your usual. James is right. It does what the usual Iron Maiden songs do. If you don't like them, it's not going to change your mind. Public Enema #1. They can stick that up their ass. Face Warning. They can stick that one up their ass. The Assassin.
How fitting, no pun intended.
No, The Assassin.
Athen.
Better watch out.
Again,
No,
musically, it's okay. It's just lyrically, it's probably their. Again, I just think it's a lazy topic. It's been explored before and better by other bands, including Judas Priest on Killing Machine. Run Silent, Run Deep. It's okay. Hooks in You, musically, it's fine. Lyrically, it's shit. I don't want to hear about you putting your hooks on some chick, Bruce Dickinson. You're not AC/DC, okay? You're not in Kiss. So Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter. That is so ridiculous. How do you bring your daughter to the slaughter?
And let her go.
Exactly. It's crap. Oh my God. I can't believe that Steve Harris heard this and go, my God, we must record this song. Is what he thought. I mean, how much cocaine were they doing that they thought this was a good idea?
Rick James only can inhale more.
Yeah, I mean, Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter.
I like
Yeah,
that.
it's a catchy song, but so are STDs, and I don't want those. Mother
Maddie's
Russia.
brutal tonight.
Mother Russia. Again, it's an interesting musical idea they don't fully explore. I think this is what they would have been called their prog track, but it sucks. Anyway, what's interesting is the songs that were on the bonus disc, like the Golden Earring song, Kill Me Cesar, the Free song, I'm a Mover, the Led Zeppelin song. Sadly, those are all better than any song on here.
No, that Led Zeppelin song is terrible.
No, Led Zeppelin fucking rocks. And
no, I love Led
Zeppelin rocks. That cover was
but that
shit.
Cover is.
But yeah, you're right.
Zeppelin's good.
You're right.
That was shit.
That cover was shit. But
that was probably the worst Bruce Dickinson vocal performance ever.
Until
you heard Bring Your Daughter to the fucking slaughter.
No, I love that song. I love that song.
Nobody loves that song.
I do. I like that.
He sings way better on Bring Your
Wayne
Daughter.
has spent way too much in the freaking post office. He might be going.
You got to stop leaking those envelopes, Wayne. Because
he's looking at those Seinfeld envelopes that killed George Costanza's.
What's interesting is the vocals. I actually like that Bruce Dickinson is singing in that lower register. I think it's interesting. What? Unfortunately, the songs don't make it interesting. The songs aren't there. That's the problem. And I think on his solo album, Tattooed Millionaire, which I don't love, but I like, is better than this. And I think creatively, I think he just kind of made this. I don't know. I just don't think it's their best album. I think Martin Birch must have been burnt out because that's definitely his worst production of any album he's ever done. I don't know. Recording a barn should make a difference, but maybe it did. But I just don't think the songs are there.
Yeah, added to all the animal shit that was there too.
As a matter of fact, after Lou, you're done with your assessment. Can you tell me if any of these songs are on the set list ever since this album came out?
Nope.
I didn't think so.
No, the last time a song. The last time a song off Prayer was in a set list was in 2003. Temporarily Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter, and that was a fan voted set list. They said Maiden gave it to the fans. Pick 15 songs that you want to hear, and of course they picked the obvious, Number of the Beast, How Will Be the Name, Run to the Hills. Yeah. But then, out of left field, they picked this one. So when I went to go see them at the Garden, I was actually like, oh, okay, they're gonna play it. Yeah, no, they didn't play it. So, I think by then they were just like, yeah, it's not going over well in the United States, which is why it was number one in UK, not in US. So,
Well, the thing about Bruce Dickinson's vocals is on the next album that I actually do like, that a lot of people hate. I think he uses that voice very well, that lower register. Yeah. But on this album, but the songs are better on the next album, in my opinion. But we'll get to that when we get to it.
The vocals don't work on this album.
Yeah, there's just too much stuff going, like the recording in the barn and the production. And
I just don't think it's just the vocals. I think musically, lyrically, they tread a lot of the same ground. Again, there's nothing wrong with that, but they're not usually so obvious about it. And I think that's one of the problems. Adrian Smith definitely leaving the band hurt the band. And I have nothing against Gears, or however you say his last name, but he's more of a Dennis Stratton blues kind of guy. I don't think he quite had enough time to gel with the band. I'm sure live he was fantastic, but
well,
I think you haven't seen Maiden
I've
live.
got some bad news.
I saw Maiden live. He's a terrible dancer, but
I don't mind. I have no problem.
I hate 90s Maiden live, but that's a topic for another day. That was the worst.
Well, we were talking about live albums. I do love those live albums, some of them anyway. But anyway,
Lou's next.
Well, is Manny done?
Lou, go. I'm definitely done.
All right. So again, 10 years old when I first got this album on cassette, and listening to it on my Walkman, I didn't think about it as much as I do now from an audible standpoint. But listening to it, yes, it does sound like it was recorded in a barn. To answer your question, Manny, acoustics do have a lot of impact on a recording. I mean, if you listen to the Kiss records produced by Eddie Kramer in the 70s, in my opinion, I prefer the production on Rock and Roll Over and Love Gun to Destroyer, produced by Bob Ezrin, because Eddie Kramer got a great sound out of it. Like one of the ways he did Peter Criss's drums was that he had him recording in a completely different section of the theater. They actually recorded in a theater in New Jersey for that album, and I think they actually had him in like the restroom where like they mic'd up all the drums, and he would contact them via video cam. So yeah, the setting of a studio, the setup of it definitely affects the production. Looking back, I could objectively say, I definitely prefer the production on the first record to this. That being said, I like about 90% of this album. The only song I really don't care for is Mother Russia. Timeline is everything. So when I first heard this, I was already like a Maiden fanboy, being 10 years old. So I loved every song from Tail Gunner up until Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter. I mean, to me, at the time, I thought Iron Maiden had broken up because it had been 2 years and, Seventh Son was out. So I kind of thought that they went the way Hulk Hogan did after 1988 WrestleMania, where he was supposed to sail away into the sunset and not come back. No, that didn't happen. They came back, and this album, although not one of my favorites, definitely holds a special place for me because it showed that Maiden was still around, so I felt like, I still got my band. That being said, not having Adrian Smith hurts them. Bruce trying to sound more like Brian Johnson of AC/DC than Bruce Dickinson. I'm sorry, he does. I have to admit, I was like, what's going on here? And again, I think looking back, it fits those songs, but if there was one record that I would like to hear them redo and do better, it would be this one, because I think the songs are good. Like I said, tracks 1 through 9 I like, and the fact that Adrian is at least represented with Hooks and You, think what you want about the lyrics. I mean, it's fine, but I love the music in it, and I don't hate Gears. Yannick Garrett. I don't hate him. I will say that he has contributed some great stuff to Maiden, especially later on as we talk about it. But I could see the hate for him, like him, prancing around the stage and whatever, I mean, like his biggest influence is Richie Blackmore. So, if anybody remembers, Richie, like back in the day, he would do like all these crazy things with his hands going up and down the, the fretboard and just doing some crazy shit. So I could see why Yannick was really more so influenced by him than any other, guitarist. But that being said, I think he has his place in Maiden. A fairly decent debut for him. But again, I just feel like the production, having Bruce singing that raspy vocals, because it almost kind of sounds like he's phoning it in. I feel like that kind of hurts it, and it hurts his chances for being heralded as one of the better Maiden albums. And I guess that's really all I could say about it. I'm drawing a blank.
I'm shocked you liked it that much. I'm very shocked.
Yeah, it's definitely a different take than my take on the album. That's for sure.
So.
I mean,
yes, it is.
Yeah, I'm a huge Iron Maiden fan, and I remember buying it, being very disappointed in it at the time. I don't hate the album, but I don't love it, and I definitely never throw it on. And I'm one of those guys who like oddball albums by big bands. I like Deep Purple, Slaves and Masters, and I like Kiss, Unmasked, and Flick of the Switch. And anyway, you get my point. This one, I just don't think the songs are there and the production's not there. Anyway, you guys.
I remember what I was going to say. I could see why they went away from the progressive stuff, because maybe Steve Harris and again, let's face it, Steve runs the show.
Right.
Maybe he just felt like he's like, you know what, he didn't want to go too proggy, even though oddly enough, I feel like the title track was almost indicative of the type of long-winded songs Maiden would record from here on out.
Mother Russia too, absolutely.
Right.
I agree with you.
So I think that his intention was good. It was valid. But as far as becoming street level, I mean, come on, you're an Iron fucking Maiden. If anyone really believes that at that point in your career that you're struggling, I mean, you don't have to go full proggy. You don't have to be all, Steve Howe of Yes and everything. But I mean, street level, you did that with the first album.
It was definitely a band,
right? But transition. That was authentic. This is Iron Maiden on autopilot, trying to sound like they, used to, and it doesn't work because there's almost no heart in the majority of it.
They're definitely going through a transition. I mean, I think their artist Eric Riggs and them were going through some crap. I'd say he didn't even do the art for this album.
For this one, he did. For this one, he
did. Okay, this was his last one he did, right?
Yeah. And I definitely think that for this one, especially considering Bruce just did Tattooed Millionaire, you can see the seeds were being planted for his exit at this point.
Yep.
And it was actually one of my least favorite artworks they did too. I honestly, when I first bought this album, I couldn't tell what the hell he was coming out of. I didn't know that was a coffin.
See, I knew that, but I got this one when I was about 11 or so too, and I was already a big Maiden fan. And this was just so disappointing.
Yeah. Plus they changed it because the guy kind of looked like Rod Smallwood a little bit when Eddie was grabbing him by the throat. That little graveyard.
No,
guy.
it's supposed to be Rod.
Oh, it is supposed to be him. But
Rod didn't like it, which is why they took it out on the remaster.
Oh, I don't like this at all. No, I don't like it. No.
When I was younger, though, I used to be much more tolerant to this and liked it better. I was actually surprised by.
Wait till the next album with Bayswater Ain't a Bad Place to Be. But Manny, one more point I wanted to bring up to you. I thought that the best cover B-side that they did was probably It's All in Your Mind. I would say that was the best one of all of them.
That's really? That's pretty damn good.
I thought that one was pretty good too, but I really like that golden earring cover.
Oh, I did too. Kills
Does
yeah.
the job.
Oh, excellent. I'm a golden earring fan anyway, so but, yeah. But I think it was a transitional period for the band. I don't know about their personal lives, but at least as a band. I mean, Bruce Dickinson just had a pretty good, successful solo album that was successful. And keep in mind, not Mick Jagger had put out a solo album, and I'm not comparing them, but his album did not do as well as Bruce Dickinson, just for comparison, So, and yeah, I just think they were going through a change. I don't see Iron Maiden being influenced by outside band, like Judas Priest definitely taken outside influences. They freely admit that, and they've done that throughout their whole career. Iron Maiden really aren't like that. But overall, I was disappointed in the album. Anyway, anyone else?
I think we're wrapped that one up, right?
Yep.
I think so. I think we're
ready to move on.
Ready to move on.
Round 3, ding ding.
Actually, it won't be my least favorite Maiden album. That's to come yet.
Really?
Yeah, it's not my least favorite.
We got 9 likes on this video already, and we're still recording it.
I know, right? We're still on.
Oh,
There's
right?
11
It's
people
crazy.
watching right now.
Really, honestly, even though I will say, unlike Priest, whose worst album to me is yet to come, which I find it completely unlistenable, even though I think No Prayer is Maiden's worst album, and it definitely is from a songwriting standpoint. You can still listen to it all the way through.
Absolutely.
Even as stupid as Holy Smoke is, it's. If it wasn't Iron Maiden, it wouldn't be half bad, but it is.
Maybe that's it. And you're right, because I'm a bigger Judas Priest fan than Iron Maiden, but when we get to that second Ripper Owens album, oh Lord. Anyway, go ahead.
That'll be a quick one.
It's not half bad. It's all bad.
Yeah.
Yep.
Iron Maiden, Fear the Dark, the 9th studio album released May 1992. It was their 3rd studio release to top the UK album chart and the last to feature Bruce Dickinson as the group's lead vocalist until his return in 1999. It was also the first album to be produced by Steve Harris and the last album to feature the work of producer Martin Birch, who retired after its release and died in 2020. It was the group's first not to be designed by Derek Briggs, whose contributions, there we go, were rejected in favor of Melvin Grant. According to Iron Maiden's manager Rod Smallwood, the band began accepting contributions from other artists. We wanted to upgrade Eddie for the 90s. We wanted to take him into a more sort of comic book horror creature and turn him into something a bit more straightforward. So
Melvin. Sorry, just had to say that.
I call bullshit on that, but continue.
Yeah. So he became even more threatening. So anyway, the album starts off with one of my top favorite Maiden songs, Be Quick or Be Dead. It was a song when I saw the video, kind of like with the Painkiller. I was like, holy shit, that's Iron Maiden now? I remember someone in my class had the tape and let me borrow it. I don't think Bruce ever did a scream like that, like he does in the opening of that song ever again. Just a catchy song from start to finish, some of great guitar work and solos as well.
Thrashy, which, sorry, Wayne, I know you're gone, but Manny, I was going to say the only exception, otherwise I agree with you about them not having outside influences, is on this record, specifically Be Quick or Be Dead.
Yeah. And the other thing too is this album was actually recorded in the same barn, but since they realized they made the studio, made it a little bit nicer and everything. So, because they learned from their mistake with the last album. So this does sound a lot better. I love the sound of this album. It's one of my favorite Maiden albums, because it's also like the first Maiden album I actually bought. So it kind of holds some meaning to me. Where did I leave off?
You're on track 2 still.
Yep.
Hey, you're still on track 2.
I'm still on track 2. I like From Here to Eternity as well. Not one of the best songs ever, but I think it works for the album. Yes, I think it's a good song.
Another cigarette. Keep going.
And if you hate that, you're going to hate this. Another one of my favorites from this album is Afraid to Shoot Strangers. It wasn't even this version that really got me to like this song. It was the version from a real live Dead one.
Same here. But
what? The live version.
I love the live version. Well,
yeah, mine wasn't from that one, but I think it was on Anyway, keep going, Wayne. There's another live version, I think, with Blaze on it that I first heard it.
Oh,
Anyway,
I never
go
heard
ahead.
that. But I know it's very repetitive, but it's very dark sounding. It's really different from something they would do up to this point. It's a unique song, and those guitar melodies, when the song builds up, are really catchy. Fear is the Key, not a terrible song, definitely a filler song, but I actually do like it. Again, it's very dark for Maiden, and again, it shows another side of them away from the usual galloping. Childhood's End. I love this song. I don't think they've ever played this live. I could be wrong, but to me, it's
You're not.
I'm not. All right. It's a standout track on the album. Again, it's Maiden doing something different. I really like how they kind of just stop the beats in the chorus and the drums are doing drum rolls along with the bass. It comes out of nowhere, but I like it. Wasting Love, another song a lot of people hate, but again, I really like it. Sorry.
It's okay. It's not the worst, but I will say one thing I actually find really interesting about this album, and you'll notice it on the other two songs. He has a big hand in writing too, like Weekend Warrior, and I forget what the other one is. I'll remember when you say the title. But there's a lot of Gers influence on this that actually really works. But it's
about the Apparition.
Yeah, the Apparition. But it's interesting because on these three tracks, Wasting Love, the Apparition, and
Weekend
Warrior, you hear some riffs and some rhythms and shit and some leads coming out of them where it's almost like, the fuck is Maiden covering the Pat Travers band and it's working?
But I thought Wasted Love actually could have worked on Bruce's solo album. Kind of has that same feeling to it.
It could have, but yeah. I mean, it's partially out of character for him, but I don't think it's horrible like everyone else says.
Yeah, I don't think so either. The Fugitive depends on my mood with this one. It's a decent song, definitely not one of my favorites, but it's not terrible. The chorus could be better. Chains of Misery, I like again because it's different from the usual Maiden sound. The Apparition, worst song on the album. Too many starts and stops, doesn't flow very well. Judas, My God, third favorite song on the album. Another song that never gets mentioned. I think it's catchy and upbeat. Weekend Warrior, filler, garbage song. Fear of the Dark, my number one song from the album and possibly my favorite Maiden song. Hearing them do this live just blew me away, and that's stuck with me ever since. So many catchy guitar parts, vocals, melodies, etc. Great ending to the album, and I think it deserves more recognition than it gets. Love that song. Greg, go ahead.
Well, it's definitely a big improvement over No Prayer for the Dying. This is where they should have gone with that record, I think. Much more lively. They incorporate a lot more new things into their sound on this record. Not necessarily to say that they were modern influences, but this really does some great foreshadowing for where like they would go later on. Brave New World and Dance of Death and A Matter of Life and Death. Once Bruce came back after the Blaze years, in songs like The Fugitive, which I love, and Afraid to Shoot Strangers. Judas Be My Guide's another great example. Fear the Dark itself. That's actually all my favorite songs there. Oh, and Childhood's End. That's a great one too. I think the one thing that really hurts this album the most and makes it seem plotting and monotonous to a lot of people is because it is very melancholy in its approach with some of it, but it's just too long. There's too many filler tracks on here. I know it was their first double album, and the Apparition I don't like at all. Or Weekend Warriors, really. Both of those could go, and I think it would make it a much stronger album. They're not bad, but they could be B-sides. But like Fear is the Key doesn't need to be on there. Chains of Misery is all right, but there's this big stretch in the middle of it before it kicks back into high gear at the end with Judas Be My Guide and Fear of the Dark, where it just kind of runs on and on. There's cool parts to all of it, and I think Yannick actually plays a lot better on this one because he was there from the beginning of the writing process this time around. I mean, I know he was with Dickinson and he had some shit on the last album, but I think they had a better chance to refine it this time around. And it made them much stronger as a band overall. And the songwriting is just better here. Still not my favorite, but better than it gets credit for.
James.
All right, let's go here. Actually, I didn't mind this album. I really like the ending of it. But Be Quick, Be Dead. I kind of meh for me. I didn't really like it that
Really?
much. That just for something about it is I just don't like the lyrics. I just didn't like how everything worked. It's not one of my favorite songs.
Interesting. I thought you'd really like it because of the dynamics in it, but
But I like the later songs for that exact reason. But From Here to Eternity, kind of the same song as Be Quick and Be Dead, but different lyrics. Afraid to Shoot Strangers.
I don't hear that at all.
Yeah, Afraid to Shoot Strangers. No, I'm going to do this in Edna mode from the Incredibles. No slow songs. No slow songs.
Oh, come on.
Stop slapping around. No slow songs from Iron Maiden.
You should like that song.
Good at it. They are fucking terrible at it. No slow songs.
I disagree. I think Afraid to Shoot Strangers is one of their best attempts at a slow song like that.
Their best attempt. It's still shit.
With the way it builds and all that, since Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner, and that's one of my favorite Maiden songs. So fuck you. Continue.
Fuck you too.
No long songs, Bubba.
Fear is the key. Nice Judas Priest song. Oh wait. Wait. Yeah.
I knew you'd bring that up. That's why I didn't. I wanted to see.
Yep. Nice Judas Priest song. Oh wait, it's not. Anyway, Childhood's End. The lack of like guitar harmony is concerning in it because like I could hear it. It's weird not hearing Adrian doing the guitar harmonies and everything like that. I think that would have like this is where I feel like the missing Adrian is there. Wasted Love. Once again, no slow songs. No. The Fugitive. It's like kind of like their old sound and everything. It's not that bad. Chains of Misery. It's weird hearing blues from Iron Maiden. It was really weird to see that or to hear that, actually, not see it. But I liked it. The Apparition, it's weird hearing them slow it down. Once again, it's just something that I'm not used to, but I liked it. Judas Be My Guide, like that song. Good song. Weekend Warrior, it's weird them playing this slower style again, but I like it. Fear the Dark, good end, surprise, and actually this is gonna be my surprise pick. I think it's their best album out of the three that we've been listening to. So actually, I really like this album, even though it has the slow songs.
And what do we say to the slow songs?
No slow songs ever.
I like Iron Maiden. Well, wait till we get to the later albums.
I'm gonna be yelling this a lot. So yes, thank you for warning me.
Yeah. Reggie says Fear the Dark is his top 3 Maiden album. And he agrees with most of what I said. Though he does love Fear is the Key, probably his second favorite behind the other Fear. Manny.
All right, I actually like this album quite a bit. I like Bruce Dickinson. He sings a little different on it. I like it quite a bit. Be Quick or Be Dead, great opening track. I like that a lot. Janet. Is it Gears or Greers?
Janet Gers. I think it's
Gers. Is it Gers?
It's Janet Gers.
I think his songwriting on here has actually, because he's had more input into the songs. I think that makes a difference than the last album where he had no input whatsoever. Yeah. From Here to Eternity, not my favorite song lyrically. It's a little goofy. I've never wanted to hear Iron Maiden do a kind of a pop metal. It's not even pop metal, just lyrically it's a little goofy, but I like it. I can dig it.
A television theme. It's awful.
Yeah. Afraid to Shoot Strangers. What won me over is it was an Iron Maiden compilation that they released, I think Best of the Beast. The original had a 2-disc in it, kind of come in a clamshell. And then one of the bonus tracks was Blaze Bayley live version of that song. And that's what won me over. Prior to that, I kind of listened to it and I liked it, but I didn't really pay attention to it. So basically it was a Blaze version that won me over.
That's interesting.
I believe that's originally the B-side to the Angel and the Gambler single, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think it, because it wasn't packed away and all this crap, I'd grab it, but I still have it. Fear is the Key is a really good song. I like that. Childhood's End, it's not bad. It's not bad. It fits the album. it's gonna. I have to agree with Wayne. I actually like Wasting Love. I'm actually surprised I like that because it's so not Iron Maiden like lyrically, even musically, but I actually like it. And I see that Janik has a songwriting credit on that one. The Fugitive, it should have been left on the cutting room floor. It's okay. It's not, you know, it's all right. Chains of Misery, I actually like that. I actually like the apparition, which I can't say right now.
Apparition.
Thank you. I actually like that because of the vocals. I like Bruce Dickinson's voice on there. I like how it stops and starts. And I like the fact that it's almost like an AC/DC vibe, how simple it is, with it, but that little riff. Judas Be My Guide, that's okay. It's not bad. It fits with the album, so I don't mind it. Weekend Warrior, they can stick that song up their ass because that sucks. I don't want to hear Iron Maiden singing about Weekend Warriors.
No.
Ted
It's
Nugent
about
already
football
did that.
hooligans.
Yeah. Fear the Dark, freaking phenomenal song, especially live. It's excellent. Again, overall, I like this album quite a bit. I didn't, I like it a lot. I remember when I first bought it, I was expecting to hate it, but it was quite the opposite. I don't throw it on very often, but when I do, I enjoy the hell out of it. All right. And Lou, you're up.
So I like about 75% of this album. Why am I feeding back? Okay, never mind.
That's because of Manny. Yeah.
Okay. So my 3 least favorite songs, I have to say Fear is the Key, The Apparition, and Weekend Warrior. I know Eric Adams told me that a lot of the boys love Weekend Warrior because it's basically, even though it's about soccer hooligans, it tells the life of pro wrestlers too, because
Of course he
they're
did.
driving
Of course
from
he
venue
did.
to. Of course he did, but
Of course he did.
so I'm just giving a shout out to Eric Adams. I acknowledge the fact that you like that song. I'm not a fan, but that's all good. The Apparition, I don't know. It's like all I just picture is Fred Durst at the end going, "So come and get it," like at the end of every at every break before the song starts. Like I was not a fan of it. Fear is the Key. I also acknowledge the fact that the lyrical content is it holds a lot of weight with Bruce because there's the line in it, nobody cares till somebody famous dies. And I think he wrote that in reference to Freddie Mercury, who he was dear friends with, who lost his life to AIDS in 1991 in November. So, I'm acknowledging that I'm still not a fan of the song, but I acknowledge why the song, has meaning for Bruce. That being said, the rest of the album is great. My favorite song is Judas Be My Guide, just because I don't know. For me, I think the melody in it, the riff itself, I don't know, just the way it starts, I love it. I own the Castle 95 reissue of it. I'd have to say also Steve's bass is so clingy on this that I can't believe I'm going to say this. His bass playing almost becomes a parody of itself.
Yep.
Like it's just so clingy. I'm like, dude, I know you're there. You don't need to be that prominent in the mix. Also, Bruce Dickinson is still continuing his Brian Johnson impersonation, which is not as bad on this one as it was on No Prayer, but it's still there. And there's one thing about the album that actually does bother me. The drum sound. The drums sound so different from what you've heard on Maiden releases in the past. Like you have that attack on the snare from Nico, and now it just sounds like it's almost faintish.
It sounds kind of like cardboard boxy in a way.
Yeah. So, I thought that made it weak.
It's very not. He's like trying to sit in there, like in the corner, just going, "Well, I hope you enjoyed the beat I'm creating. I am trying to keep the beat for this band."
Pretty much.
Although Adrian's not here to control the beat via guitar riffs.
I didn't even think about that, Lou, till you mentioned it. You're right, because the way Birch would produce, he'd make that drum sound really kick. You're right. You're right. I didn't even think about that. Good point, Lou. Anyway, go ahead.
It's odd because Birch's name is credited on this, so you figure what the hell happens, and maybe he was just like, oh, I'll just do this one album and then I'll retire. But somebody mentioned, you mentioned it just now, James, about the whole, play into a corner, and it's funny because if you listen to the live recordings of the tour for this album, Real Live One and Real Dead One, I'm gonna flat out say it, I detest it. I thought Nico was horrible at keeping time. I thought the guitars sounded just muddy. And, once again, Steve's bass is just clinging away. And Bruce was phoning it in. So you come up with a great album, but it's like, where's the heart in your live performances? I mean, I know that in 92, Maiden was still popular, I mean, although I remember I heard Ralph Vieira one time say that he went to the Fear of the Dark tour when it came to Florida. I think it was like a half empty venue, but because in 92, I mean, who were the biggest bands in the world? Metallica and Guns N' Roses. By that point, Maiden, I guess you could say, they went from being a top tier band in the United States to a second or maybe almost third tier band, because who else was coming up that same year? Pearl Jam and Nirvana. But in Europe and South America, Maiden was still all the rage. And, but even then, with packed houses, the way they performed live, it still was subpar, in my opinion. So
yeah, those was, and it had already been decided that Bruce was leaving at the end of the tour. So I just had everyone in a sour mood.
Right.
None of them sound like they want to be there.
Yeah, but
Steve, but Jesus Christ, how could you not hear Steve?
But I mean, it's a very bittersweet record. I mean, there's some, like I said, 75% of the album I love, but there's still that freaking, specter that's being held over it, really showing that Maiden is not in good times at this point. But I think the content of that's 75% of the record is amazing, music wise. Yep. So, again, not one of my top 10 favorite Maiden records, but I have a special place in my heart for it. So I'll leave it at that.
I love live albums, but a real live one and a real dead one are definitely subpar. What's even worse is the Raising Hell DVD. I don't even think they even bothered to reissue it with the shit magician. I don't remember who the fuck that guy was, but
Simon Drake.
Yeah, whatever. He sucked. But anyway, it was you're right. And there's other performers like Ian Gillan when he was leaving Deep Purple. He knew he was leaving, but you would not know that listening to those performances, or I don't know. I get it. He didn't want to do the tour. Then don't do the tour. Just tell Rod, whatever his name is, Smallwood, hey, I fulfilled my contract. I don't want to do the tour. I don't know. I just think it's bullshit.
The more you know.
Yeah. But I like the album, but I don't like the live albums that produced it, which is sad because Iron Maiden, in my opinion, are one of the best live acts out there to this very day. But you would not know that listening to those live albums.
I mean, it's funny. I would like to ask Steve Harris. I'm like, do you care more about quality control, or do you care more about getting the final word? Because if getting the final word is more important to you than good quality control, well, I guess it's worked for you, but it shows that you didn't put in the effort behind it like you did back in the day. So,
well, you know what they say, Lou, a shot in the dark is better than a walk in the park. I'm sorry.
I was trying to find where I could put that in there. Thank you, man.
It's there. I found the way to put it in there.
I don't think Jesse Fink has ever forgiven them for that either. Anyways. By the way, thank you to everyone who watched it. 200 views on that episode alone. Thank you.
Yeah. It was a very good episode. I mentioned that in the beginning of the show and you weren't here.
Sorry, I was adulting.
Yeah. Reggie says the drum sound is a little thin. Same with the Rush albums, Presto, Rolled the Bones, around the same period. I never thought about that before. So yeah.
Yeah, but I
Those
could listen to Neil any time of the day over Nico. So that's the difference for me.
Ralph said that they were playing half empty arenas. I don't remember that. I mean, I'll take his word on it.
Ralph also referred to Fear of the Dark as a shit sandwich. The bread is great, but everything else in between is shit.
Well, I don't agree with that totally, but
that's pure Ralph right there.
But there were a lot of Judas Priest, Alice Cooper, I think Motorhead did that tour together that lost a lot of money. The first time any of those guys ever lost money on a tour, so they weren't the only ones. I mean, there were a lot of and these are platinum acts. These aren't, whatever. They weren't Wasp. So they weren't the only ones that were suffering if that was the case. I thought Iron Maiden did pretty well, but I don't know. I never keep up these box office receipts or whatever because it's not, I'm not making any money.
Well, it just goes to show you come 1996 when Best of the Beast comes out and they do the video for Virus. They shot it in Steve's pool. So I'm going to leave it at that.
I love that song, by the way.
It's a great song, but the video is just horrible.
I don't think I ever saw the video.
I never think
it's on Maiden's YouTube page.
Yeah,
I watch it for a chuckle.
They didn't include it on that Iron Maiden when they collected all their videos on that DVD. I have it. I can't remember the Visions or whatever. Yeah, whatever the hell it's called. Anyway,
I don't recall, but it is on their YouTube channel, so you can see it.
Greg, you had something?
Oh, I was going to say the thing that blows my mind the most. All four of you is like From Here to Eternity. What the fuck is wrong with you?
What the fuck is wrong with you, Greg?
That is the most Maiden song ever. It's just terrible.
It's still a good song.
It's choppy.
Oh, here's my question. Here's my question.
Weekend Warrior.
Hell's not a bad place. It's here from Hell to Eternity.
Thank you, Bert Lancaster. Do you guys acknowledge Hooks in You and From Here to Eternity as parts 3 and 4 of the Charlotte the Harlot saga, or no?
Are they supposed to be?
Part 3, yes. Part 4, no.
Never thought of it. Never wanted to give it a thought.
That lyric about licking the kickstand clean. I mean, wow, that was bad. Anyway, go ahead.
All right.
I've heard worse, Angel and the Gambler, but anyways, I digress. Continue.
Well, we haven't gotten to that one yet.
That is my answer to that question.
All right. What are we giving these albums? Judas Priest. Let's start with them. Greg.
8.
8. James.
8.
What?
8.
8. Manny.
9.
9. Lou.
10.
10.
It's in my top 4.
You sure about that?
Lou is the nice judge in this gymnastics routine. I am the Russian judge.
Okay, fine. And then I'll give it a 9. I'll take 1 point away.
Give it a 10.
Fine.
Give it a 10.
Be the good judge.
Give it a 10.
The only reason I said I was surprised is just because to me, 10s are just for perfect albums. You said you still had a few issues with it. That's all. But no, you can call it a 10. That's fine.
Yeah, it's okay to be wrong. I said 8. No prayer to die. No prayer for the dying. Greg.
4.
Wow. James.
3.
Shoof. Man.
Actually, you know what? I'm changing it. 3. James is right.
3.
3.
3.
3.
Lou.
9.
Hey, nice judge.
I gave it a 6. Fear of the Dark. Greg.
I'd give it a 7.
7. James.
8.5.
8.5. Manny.
7.
And Lou.
7.
I have to put it better than Painkiller. I said I liked it more than Painkiller. So
you did.
It has to be a little bit higher.
True, and it is true. And Painkiller won. So
As it should.
Honestly, it should. As much as I like Fear of the Dark, and Bruce mastered how to do the different vocals by that album. Although I think part of the problem on No Prayer is Steve was really pushing for that raw sound of the first album, and it just didn't quite match even with the songs they were writing. But Painkiller is much stronger performance and songwriting wise than both of these Maiden albums put together.
And when a band tries to capture the roots, it doesn't always work. Especially Iron Maiden. I mean, who's left from that first album? Steve Harris and
Dave Murray.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And you know, I think one of the big things with it too is, you know, like Lou was saying, I bet Steve felt like he was losing control a little bit with how much, because you know, it's funny. He built them to where they were by power slave. Then he starts letting people get more input on stuff, and then he seems to have a problem with how progressive it was getting. And I just think he had this knee-jerk reaction, whereas on No Prayer they could have done something more similar to Fear of the Dark and possibly saved the band at that point in time.
Yeah, but I will give Steve Harris credit. He lets Janik contribute, where we can get to Judas Priest next time and Jugulator, they don't let Tim Owens write one single lyric, which they should have if you listen to those lyrics. But anyway, we'll get to that. Actually,
he did do Demolition. Go ahead.
No, he didn't write. He didn't write shit on Demolition either.
He wrote 1 or 2 songs. Yeah.
No, I think he might have written like on a napkin for a lunch order, but he didn't write any lyrics.
Just so want to go over the B sides real quick to Fear of the Dark.
Yeah,
Nodding Donkey Blues. Space Station Number 5, which is a cover of a Mantra song. Yeah, but that cover was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that.
The only thing funny about it was at the end it leads into Bayswater Ain't a Bad Place to Be, which is them ripping on Rod Smallwood again. Roll Over Vic Vela, which is Roll Over Beethoven, but they're talking about their tour bus driver.
Yeah, which is okay.
I Can't See My Feelings, and the other 3 are live tracks: No Prayer for the Dying, Public Enema Number 1, and Hooks in You, which actually sound pretty good live.
Yeah, on that one. See, they should have released a live album from those shows instead of the shit ones we got on the Real Live Dead. Possibly. Actually, what's even sadder, that's a compilation of different shows, isn't it? Those 2 live albums.
Yes,
they are all across Europe, but also I think the biggest factor to Steve maybe losing control, that was a good point that you made. This was the beginning of his divorce proceedings. By the time X Factor came out, he was already divorced, and that reflects greatly on that record. So
wow.
Yeah, the X Factor is essentially one long dirge, but I personally find that one more creative than both of them.
Well, that's next.
That's going to be interesting when we get to it, because I like those albums, but when I first got them, I didn't. Anyway, we'll get to that.
We'll definitely get to it, hopefully next week. Yeah, so ratsaladreview.com. Lou, anything with you?
I got nothing. Just dealing with
actually, we do have something, Lou.
Do you want me to announce it?
Well, yeah, we've been posting the videos for the last 3 days.
Hey, Ben, I seen it on TikTok. Do it.
Okay.
Do it.
So Wayne and I are ready to unleash our new original musical project called Severed Angel, which involves Wayne on drums, me on guitar, Alex Rapetti from the Infinite Spectrum and Tension Rising, and Plant-Based Metal on vocals, guitars, and he's also our engineer. George Dimitri of Timeless Haunt on bass guitar, and Mark Muchnick of the Nightmare Stage on keyboards. I've never been this excited to have my name on a record since I released my wife's music back in 2007. So this is going to be a killer freaking record. Our YouTube page is up, our TikTok is up, our Instagram is up, Facebook is up, website hopefully coming very soon. This is all coming into the release of our first video, which is a cover song of a band that I won't mention.
Greg's favorite band.
That's as much as we'll say. But it's a great cover. But if you love the cover, wait till you hear the originals. Your head's going to explode. So.
Yeah, the cover is shows nothing of what the originals do. What?
I said, like a boss.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's Facebook and Instagram is Severed Angel Band. We're on Twitter at severed_angel_. And just find us at Severed Angel on YouTube, and Wayne just started the TikTok page. So
right, find us everywhere. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
And buy our merch on TeePublic.
Oh yeah, what is this thing?
Too long to mention, but just type in the search engine Severed Angel official merch.
All right, go do that. Some cool shirts on there. Actually, I just got a notification before we did the show. My shirts are on the way.
Mine too, and my hoodie. So
yeah, so go buy your merch.
It's time for fall. Get your hoodies.
Right, and go to ratsoundreview.com and go buy a Rat Sound Review t-shirt, because there are Rat Sound Review t-shirts as well at a different store.
And Music is Live podcast shirts.
That's right. Buy Music is Life podcast shirts. Hit subscribe, like, share everything that we do. If you don't, we will find you and make you hit those buttons.
You've been warned.
You have been
College
warned.
football's back tomorrow. Go Vols. Woo! No Huddle podcast.
Moni.
Oh yeah, I forgot about your podcast because you've been away. What's going on with yours?
So, well, football season started. Unfortunately, my co-host right now is dealing with schoolwork, but we're going to be getting on shows. We're actually doing a Saturday morning show. When I get more information on that, we're going to be doing that. I'm going to be the Lee Corso to everybody else's boring ESPN pregame show. So,
are you going to have Michael A. Smith, Stephen A. Smith on your show?
I am better than Stephen A. Smith, sir. It's my turn. Anyway, sorry.
You got to pass the ball to LeBron.
No, I'm not going to pass the ball to LeBron. LeBron's going to keep passing it away. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
All right, everybody. See you next week. More Maiden, more Priest. Ratsoundreview.com. Goodbye.
God help us all.
And now you got to wait for a
Don't
second.
eat the stuff off the sidewalk, kids.
Don't lick the white poop.
I got a belly full of white dog crap in me.
Stop the recording, God damn it.
No.